Football and Web3, new opportunities.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks a lot for coming. This is, as I mentioned, this is the new topic which I am particularly passionate about, and I think it's very important to talk more about how Web3 and sport can work together. Can you quickly introduce yourself and a little bit about your background and what you've been doing and why you're interested in tech and sports?
Sure. Let me start as Eric is local. So, Samir Ceric, I'm CEO of Blocksport, which is a Swiss-based sports tech company that works with sporting properties, clubs, leagues, federations on building the whole digital infrastructure to help them with fun engagement, to help them with new revenues and really kind of new type of fans around the world. As a background, I'm a former elite athlete, I'm a former chairman of the football club, and I'm somebody who's been in the sports industry all my life. Sport is a way of life, not just business for me, and I'm a big sort of believer that the more we do inside sport, the better the society is going to be.
Thank you, Eric.
Good morning, and thank you very much for having us here. My name is Eric Gottschalk. I spend half my time between the Middle East and the Philippines. Been in Dubai since 1999, ran some of the biggest companies there. I set up Media Pro Middle East, which is a tech company, obviously very much involved in media rights and professional football. In 2013, I started going on to my own with a company called MMC Sports, dealing a lot with rights holders and federations on the sporting side. And since 2020, I was able to get involved with a local football club. We got a group of shareholders and friends and family together to rescue one of the football clubs here. We renamed it. And since then, I'm managing the daily business of United City Football Club.
Well, I think we should then proceed to describing your partnership, because we're here to talk about the particular use case, how Blocksport and Web3 works with United City Football Club. So give us a little bit of a background. Whose idea this was? How do you guys proceed with implementing this? And please describe to the audience what's the essence of this partnership is.
So Eric and I met a couple of years ago through a common friend, Mike Limbrosio, the founder of the Orchard Sports Entertainment Company, who's also in the space and out of Singapore in a sports tech. And I kind of felt that Eric was unlike many other sort of CEOs and presidents of the football clubs living out of Southeast Asia, seeing that Southeast Asia has really got a new sort of way of engagement with sport. It's the Gen Z and Gen Alpha sort of looking at content creation, the content consumption in a very different way. And bearing in mind that United is, trophied club, one of the most well-known clubs out of the Philippines. And Eric had that understanding between Europe and Asia, and that the bridge between Web 2 and Web 3, we've decided to sort of, after a year of discussions about 6 months ago, really join forces and build the United's fan engagement platform, not just a fan app, but a platform that's actually designed to sort of offer something unique, something new in the realm of digitalization, in the realm of Web3, in the sort of realm of the community creation, which is not something that is yet fully adopted around the world, and really drive that innovation in Southeast Asia off the back of his club.
Well, from my side, it started a little bit differently because football is obviously a lot of passion. And in this part of the world, the football business model doesn't work. So you have a lot of club owners, a lot of money out going into player salary. All the countries in Southeast Asia are struggling of making the business model work. And we were trying to look at what can we do differently with our club. In 2020, obviously, we were in the middle of COVID. Football matches stopped. The whole world came to a standstill. And the technology evolved. So everybody is starting to do your Zoom calls and your trainings on Zoom and so on, just to keep the players fit. And we looked at it and it says, okay, if we are in a market like in the Philippines where basketball is number one, unfortunately volleyball is number two, football is maybe the most played sport on the grassroots, but it's just not a mainstream sport yet as we would like to have it. What can we do to make football still relevant? And we started to look at it. We have, I don't know, attendance of 300, 400, 500, 600 people at our matches. So ticket sales are not there. Broadcasting rights are not there. We have streaming, but there's no money coming in. Merchandise sales, we're selling 2,000 jerseys this season. It's not going to pay the players' salaries. So what else can we do? And we started looking at alternatives, and we need to build a fan community, and fan community these days has to be done on technology, through technology. And we have started transforming a football club into an entertainment hub and a data collection center for us to then capitalize in the long run over the next few years. And again, luckily through my friend Michael, I met up with Samir. There's a lot of synergies with Blocksports. They're driving force in basketball and football out of Europe already. And we said, let's bring them over here. Let's see what we can do. And since we're in a market where, you know, sponsorship and investments are not really to get hold of very easily, we had adopted the approach, let's do it ourselves. Let's show everybody what we can do. Because if you say, why does United City Football Club have a fan app if the Football Federation and the league is not even digitally relevant? And here you go. We said, okay, we are part of the community. Let us try to show you what we can do and try to then bring the rest of the community in. And that's why we're here.
That's fantastic. But what is the Web3 element to it?
So Web2 and Web3 are still building what I call the bridge. And I was recently at a conference at Dortmund Stadium where the founder of Animoca Brands, Yatsu, talk about why Web3 matters. And I think there was a question early on in the audience, you know, what's the essence of the Web3? And I think, Olga, one of your questions to sum up Web3 is really the empowerment of fans as content creators to benefit in the process of that content creation that normally traditionally benefits the big brands, benefits the sporting properties, but is now really about benefiting the end user, the consumer, and the fans. And Eric mentioned the importance of data. And I think when I talk at various conferences, we're talking about the fact that data is king and data is new gold. Segmentation of data when it comes down to the customers and the fans is very, very important. And at certain sporting properties around the world, and I will cite mostly Juventus, PSG, some of these big properties are starting to realize that with the emotional connection that exists between fans and sporting properties, which is not the case anywhere else in any other industry, because the likes of Nike, Adidas, and all the big brands will never have the emotional connection and the loyalty. That's where the sort of elements of the Web3 are coming in. So a simple way of the Web3 is the digital collectibles, the digital memberships, play-to-earn game. Last night we launched a sort of play-to-earn game in one of the biggest derbies in Serbia between Red Star Belgrade and Partizan at the basketball game. We are preparing the same thing for Juventus and United City to actually launch play-to-earn games so the fans could engage. They can earn some sort of rewards for it, the way it's actually
Tokens?
done. Not necessarily just tokens. It could be fun points, could be fun tokens, it could be a non-speculative element of it. And it could be really kind of taking that digital collectibles to another level, because, you know, what's been unfortunate in the last few years is that the NFTs have got a really bad name because they've been missold to the public. It's a money-making machine that doesn't really work. But if we think about collectibles, stamps, classic cars, art, you know, people have been collecting things for many, many decades. So why digital equivalent of the collectible with a unique code can't also be collected? I mean, I look at my 11-year-old and 30-year-old, they're big into Panini cards and sort of match attacks and all these things they're collecting. Now turning that into the digital will enable fans, clubs, and the big brands to create that triangle that we're really working hard on. And the last point I want to make, so we recently announced a partnership with the Deutsche Telekom Group and T-Mobile USA. And telcos are very consumer focused. By the same time, they know that sport is a very sexy thing to sell, unlike the mobile contract or landline contracts or anything in terms of the telco products. So we're really working hard on joining the dots, ensuring that the Web3 component with the blockchain and smart contracts benefits mostly the content creators, which are fans. And of course, everyone else benefits in the process too.
Thank you. I love how you put it, and we actually spoke about this, that it's 100% emotional engagement with sports. You don't need to market it, right? And football is one of the oldest types of sports out there. At the same time, I feel like football industry, I also have emotional connection. My family is a lifetime are Liverpool supporters, so I've been involved into the English football for some time. So I know names. Let's put it that way. I also know that there is a very long history of football clubs and leagues trying to interact with fan communities to the benefits of both sides. However, with the new generation of newly raised football fans, it's getting harder for them to even get in touch, to even communicate, to even, spread the world, let people have 100% pleasant fan experience, from watching the stream to traveling to championships, right? Booking hotels, using fan IDs, etc. And I think, of course, it has to do with the generation gap. Because old schoolers, boomers, people of certain age who are used to just turning on the radio or TV station. I don't even need to travel there, which tokens, what apps. I don't need that. I just support my team and we're in the jersey all my life. Whereas people who are younger, they demand different experience. So how do you feel about that? And is it, I think, Eric, here's to you most of all, is it the biggest reason that you even looked into the Web3 world and looked into one of the solutions that allows to digitize fan experience and also, to build that digital bridge between rather conservative industry and people of new generation? Everyone has social media accounts, right? And football players, football clubs also do. So sometimes it doesn't even matter like where are they in the charts and how the players play, if they have a fancy social media account, if they put a certain effort into their social media and digitize everything. If they launch their tokens, we're not going to point a finger at a certain football players who launch their NFT collectibles. Maybe that matters more right now. And how do you communicate with that digital generation?
I think if you go in a shoe store, you expect that you have shoe sizes 5 to 15. And that's what technology gives us. That's what our app gives us. That means it gives you the fan engagement. It gives you a chance to buy something. It gives you a chance to view something. It gives you a chance to receive news. So we're offering that whole spectrum under the engagement using technology. And I believe that this really is bridging right now the gap between the older generations and the younger generations. And I'm counting myself into the older generation. Just give you an example. My mother is not on Facebook, but she watches our matches on the live stream on our app. And that, again, that connects us with, with a generation through technology which is simple. Maybe tokens and NFTs are not for everybody. It's maybe too sophisticated, but some people just want to receive news. And if we're looking at the engagement levels that we're having right now, is the technology actually helps us to bridge. Some of the statistics are saying that, yes, if you look at venues, the venues are full for live events, but actually the trends are going that people like to consume the content in their own home. People are going back to looking and watching things on TV. Maybe nowadays we call it rather a big screen, not a traditional TV anymore, but people are in their homes. So AI technology is out there right now that actually measures the fun level at a live event in order for them to put strategies together to make sure that fans are more attracted of going to live events and venues, because the younger generation is actually trying to stay at home. So I think technology, AI, and so on is allowing us a lot of things to do. And that's what we're trying to do is with UCFC in our fan app. We're in the Philippines, I think 40 million daily gamers. How can we get an audience that is on a mobile device to get engaged on football? Sometimes you give them a medium. It doesn't really matter if it's the sport, if it's basketball, football, or something. But if you give them a product where there's a game, where there's an incentive for them to be there, or you give them a chat room where they can voice their opinions, I think you're going to be able to reach audiences and bringing them into our community. And again, that's what we're trying to do: bringing new audiences, bridging age gaps, and making sure that while you're having a live event, you're still relevant and reaching people in their space, in their safe space, which is the mobile phone or their houses.
That's much quicker as well.
Olga, could I just add to that?
Yeah, of course.
That the sort of the new gen, the Gen Z and Gen Alpha, consume sports content in a very different way to my generation and sort of our parents' generation, because even if they come to stadiums, they are engaged and interacting with their devices all the time. They no longer just sat watching for the goal to happen, because in football in particular, unlike basketball and some other faster paced sports, it's a 1 goal, 2 goals, 3 goals, 4 goals. You're lucky if it's 5 goals. So what do they do all this time? They consume content. They look at stats. For example, basketball is...
there's fantasy league.
Yes. Well, basketball is as ice hockey and some of these other sports outside of football are very statistics driven and very data driven. So if you can provide that level of engagement where continuously they're comparing it, then obviously you're creating something that's very, very unique. And I think that those at the helm of the football clubs in particular have got to start listening to their fans more. They've got to start engaging them in a different way. And the bigger you are, the more responsibility you have to 99% of the fans that will never set their foot at your stadium. For 2 reasons. If you go to Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United, they sold out. The season tickets holders have taken it. So millions of fans around the world, only way to engage with their clubs outside buying jerseys is to find the way on that digital bridge. And this is why Web3 matters. This is why Web3 is not just here to stay, it's already happening. And this is why the big brands and the sponsors are now starting to expect more from their clubs that they're sponsoring. They want them to go and drive the data acquisition. They want them to understand their fans in dissecting it and what their interests are in order to be able to service them in a better way. And ultimately, they want to reward them. Because if you've got people that are creating your content for free, it's short of enslaving your fan base, which is what Web2 has been about. It's been leveraging the fans around the world. It's about the time that the fans take control in their own hands. And if they're creating content, and the content creators, they're also benefiting. If they're signing up with their data points, they're about to actually benefit monetarily and otherwise. And I think this is where, in the country of 115 million people, as Ceric said, 40 million daily gamers, surely, as the Gen Z and Gen Alpha follows 6.3 sports on average, there is definitely space for something exciting and something more digital.
You want to add something?
Yeah, just going a little bit into what this Southeast Asian market is and where we started, because at the end of the day, we're trying to open up new revenue streams. Most of the sports clubs, and I'm not talking just football, but even looking at that in this country, basketball. And basketball just launched their own app just very recently here, the PBA. But what's happening is...
We're going to have a lot of PBA people on that stage in just 20 minutes.
I know. So most of the sports organizations have a relevance on Facebook. But if you want to go in and open the new revenue streams and bringing in sponsors and bringing in partners and trying to develop your communities, you need to go in the next level. You need to own the data. You need to be able to have the analysis, the analytics to know how to engage with them. And that's why we are here. A lot of the football federations in Southeast Asia have their own apps. I mean, Singapore, the league has one. In Malaysia, the league has an app. Some of these apps are very basic, just providing news and streaming platforms and maybe information about some players and statistics on the last game. But the next level would really be of engaging the fans and building a fan community, because otherwise it's again one-way traffic, one-way communication. And again, that's what we're trying to showcase, that we need to go out, the clubs need to invest because we own the fans. We cannot leave it up to our federation to do the work, because the federation looks after everybody. But our fans want to hear from us and they want to engage with us. They want to buy our jersey and they want to leave their own comments on why the coach last Saturday did not substitute so-and-so. And that's what we need to create. And I think if we do this one, then this whole industry will evolve even more, and it will allow clubs to become more sustainable in the long run. But it's a long work ahead of us. And the good thing is that football is starting to look at other sports. I mean, we're looking at gaming, we're looking at esports. They're doing a lot of tremendous things of how they're engaging with their communities and how they're engaging with fans, and how the fans can interact and live games, and it's amazing. And if football would take a little bit of that knowledge and put it into our own sport, I think we're going to be very successful in the long run.
Speaking of regional specifics, how is it different from Dubai or Middle East? Do you see a lot of difference here in your experience?
If I go back 10, 15 years, I mean, especially we're looking at the UAE, we're looking at Saudi Arabia, Qatar. No fans in the stadium, 2,000-3,000 on average. People are watching it over a shisha in the cafes. And everybody was on their mobile phones, and everybody was either very big on Twitter or on Facebook or on Instagram, depending on which country you're in. And again, this is now changing. You're seeing now that the leagues and the clubs are really investing of educating of how to engage with the fans and how to use technology. And it's technology sometimes being used for the broadcasters. I mean, we're seeing on the replays, on the highlights, on the analytics, on the statistics. I mean, you see on the live screen now the lines, if there was an offside. So these are all tools to gather performance data to also see what can be done to engage with the fans and to engage with other groups. We are a little bit, I think the Middle East, due to the huge influx of money, has been taking a big leap ahead of us. Southeast Asia is starting now. But in terms of innovation, you're looking at Singapore, what Singapore is doing with their smart venues. There's a lot of venue investment also in Japan and in China. You see a lot of environmental sustainability initiatives using technology. Again, you're making the venues better. I think in Singapore they're doing something with the water filtration system. They're using AI for crowd management and so on and so on. So there's a lot of things of making that whole experience better. But it's, again, this is 1 or 2 or 3 countries. There's a couple highlights here and there. Overall, there's a huge growth within sports and technology to grow in Southeast Asia. And hopefully, through events like this and talks like this, people will pick up something and they will trigger something in their own regions.
Olga, could I just add, what I see the main differential point between Southeast Asia, much bigger region than the MENA region, is the Saudi 2030 vision. It's not just about the money. It's about the vision of the government to attract some of the best knowledge-based individuals and organizations from around the world to come, not just to buy the best players in the world like Ronaldo, something that China tried 30 years ago and miserably failed. It's actually to bring the know-how from the rest of the world to actually build things from the foundation. So hence their vision for the next 5, 10, 15 years, in my view, is the reason for that sort of success they've had to date. If somebody in Southeast Asia, and Eric mentioned Singapore being the driving force. I mean, I was last week at the World Football Summit event where I met a Korean company that has done a Gen AI for football, and I'm going to actually discuss it with them. So if, South Korea and Japan have always been the driving force of the Asian innovation for many decades now. So I think what the Philippines, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Thailand need is to connect up with their fellow contemporaries in South Korea and Japan, bring some of these technologies here rather than let them take it to Europe and America and do it that way around, because this is a rich continent. This is the youngest continent with Africa. It's got a huge potential. And the sooner the visionaries of this country and this region realize that, the better it's going to be for everyone's ultimate happiness.
What do you see in that case as the main problem, the main challenge here? Because is it the money problem? Is it the lack of investments? Is it the lack of solutions? So that there are not good enough solutions out there? Is it the bureaucracy? Is it the industry being more or less conservative? Football leagues, or high-level executives being too cautious about trying to use technology to more engage with fan communities more, or even not wanting to do so? What is the main problem here?
I personally, let me start with this, and Eric can have his view. I think it's lack of education. I think it's the ignorance and arrogance of those sitting at the helm and making decisions, actually thinking that the whole thing is going to go away, but it's not. We're talking about the tech-savvy, individuals and nations. The banking app, the Ubers, the Deliveroo's of the world have been around for a long time. You don't need to be tech-savvy to engage in a digital transformation of the sport of the country. I think it's a big BS. I think it requires the vision. It requires the willingness to bridge the gap on the educational front. It's definitely not about the money, because these are relatively rich, big countries. They can bring in the know-how from around the world or produce things in their own tech hubs across Southeast Asia. So I think we need people to step out of their norm, like Eric, like United. It could be, for innovation and the sort of overnight success that often takes decades to build. It requires individuals to be the driving force behind it.
I might shoot myself in the foot, but I would take another approach. I think that the decision makers are in the wrong age category, and that's my age and above. And I'm allowed to say this because I've been in this part of the world long enough, I've been in this country long enough. But it's really that if you look at a federation level, half of the people, not even half the people, 99% of the people are literally on per diems. They're getting paid for when they're attending a meeting. If you look at the education, the qualifications, and the structure within federations and some of the individual sports, it's just not there to allow you to grow. It's not a money issue. If you look at this, if you look at the Philippines here right now, in the top 10 richest people in Asia, I think there's 3, 4, 5 Filipinos on there. So it's never about the money. But it's about why people holding positions in sports, because it gives you something that no other job gives you. If I'm the CEO of an oil company, I walk down the street, nobody takes notice of me. But if I'm the chairman of a football club, or I'm the president of a sports federation, or I'm just a board member of a club, I walk down the street and people see me, we are in the news, we talked about, it gives you a totally different thing. So people holding on to their positions, in my opinion, and I hope I'm not stepping anybody's foot, way too long. And I think that the younger generations need to step up and make their demand for their voice and their spaces in the federations. If you're looking in international football right now, how many football coaches are between end of 20 and early 40s? Because they're just stepping in. So it's not anymore about experience. It's about dynamics. It's about being modern. It's about, the German national coach, what has he done? He had 2 coaching jobs and he's not even 40, and he's the head coach of one of the biggest football nations in the world. And that's what we need. But if you go into the Southeast Asian Games Organizing Committee and you look at a board meeting there, how many women are represented? How many people are under the age of 50? So where does the technology that we're trying to bring in, the technology that's consumed and understood by a certain age category, is not being consumed at the decision-making level? We need to bring the technology and the know-how and the experts into that level in order to make real change. Otherwise, we're going to be really stuck in where we are at the moment.
Interestingly, we used to say absolutely the same thing about fintech and the digital currencies usage, on a higher level, or in the banking and the financial industry. So it's the same thing, education. Our time is up. We are waiting to listen from the Filipino Basketball Association, from amazing Filipino basketball players. And I think if you guys have any questions, if you want to comment on how traditional sports and football actually interacts with, because you heard what Eric just said, is this really a problem with within the Philippines? Jared, come over. You're going to be on stage in just 5 minutes, but I just want to get your opinion on that because you obviously represent what we've just been talking about for the past 10 minutes.
One more time, can you summarize what you asked? Someone was asking for pictures, and I wasn't focused fully.
No, it was what just Eric said. Can you just separate the lack of education within the higher level decision making within the sports industry? Like the younger the people will be, the bigger will be
So we're talking about decision making on a high level in sports, in traditional sports, and how in the Philippines, and how that's an issue, and how that can be resolved. I think, for one, like you were saying, I think education infrastructure is very important here in the Philippines. Philippines is very beautiful, and it's we have very lovely people, but our infrastructure is organized chaos, if I may say it in a nice way. Gabe knows what I'm talking about. But so on top of the pillars of just, yes, education, reform, and I think meshing with the new technologies that we're talking about today, whether that's metaverse or AI, obviously incorporating that in our decision making will be important for the years to come.
You can stay here. Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much. I think we are all super excited about how football is going to adopt technology more, is going to interact with the fan communities more. I really appreciate you coming here, having this conversation with me. Please catch up with Eric and Samir outside the stage. They're going to stick around, I hope so. This is an amazing use case, and this is an actual bridge between tech and sports, something that you're going to be seeing a lot with AIBC. So stick with us and follow Blocksport and United City FC for more exciting collaborations. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Olga.
Olga.
Thank you.